Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this one I got for you is coming straight out of Buffalo, New York, where an ex-DEA agent got 5 years in prison for using his badge to protect his drug trafficking friends. And they called this the little dark secret. So this is dealing with Italians, the mafia, the old story back in the day with the mob. And does the mafia still exist in today's time? And evidently, the mafia is still around. It's the little dark secret. So let's get into the story. Ex-DEA agent gets 5 years in prison for using his badge to protect drug trafficking friends. In two decades of kicking in doors for the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, Joseph Bongiovanni often took on the risk of being the lead breacher, meaning he was the first person into the room. However, he felt a familiar uncertainty recently awaiting sentencing for using his DEA badge to protect childhood friends who became prolific drug traffickers in Buffalo, New York. So just when you think that the mafia doesn't exist, evidently they still do. I never knew what was on the other side of that door. That fear is what I felt today, Bongiovanni, 61 years old, told a federal judge, pounding the defense table as his face reddened with emotion. I've always been innocent, Bongiovanni said. He said he loved his job. U.S. District Court Judge Lawrence J. Villardo sentenced the disgraced lawman to 5 years in federal prison on a string of corruption counts. The punishment was significantly less than the 15 years prosecutors sought, even after a jury acquitted Bongiovanni of the most serious charges he faced, including an allegation that he pocketed over $250,000 in bribes from the mafia. The judge said the sentence reflected the complexity of the mixed verdicts following two lengthy trials and the almost Jekyll and Hyde nature of Bongiovanni's career, in which the lawman racked up enough front-page accolades to fill a trophy case. Bongiovanni once hurtled into a burning apartment building to evacuate residents through billowing smoke. He locked up drug dealers, including the first ever prosecuted in the region for causing a fatal overdose. There were two completely polar opposite versions of the facts and polar opposite versions of the defendant. Villardo said, Attorney Villardo said, assuring prosecutors 5 years behind bars would pose a considerable hardship to someone who has never been to prison. His defense attorney, Parker McKay, noted the judge had acknowledged Bongiovanni as a beacon of the Buffalo community. The government's request for a 15-year sentence, he added, was completely unmoored to the nature of the convictions. As Mr. Giovanni told the judge at sentencing, he was innocent, and that we look forward to continuing to work with him to prove that, defense attorney McKay told the Associated Press. But prosecutors painted a different picture. Bongiovanni allegedly helped Michael Masiccia, a former high school teacher linked to the Italian organized crime family, and others involved in the distribution of massive quantities of marijuana, cocaine, and fentanyl, the Justice Department said in a news release. Masiccia, if I'm saying that right, was previously convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison. You got these Italian names, so excuse me if I'm messing them up. Bongiovanni helped drug traffickers by providing law enforcement sensitive information about the existence of investigations, the identities of informants, and about sensitive law enforcement techniques and tactics, the federal prosecutor said. Now that shows you where this can be very serious, because if Bon Giovanni, the ex-DEA agent, is letting his criminal buddies know about the existence of them being investigated or other investigations, the identity of informants, you're talking about a life and death situation out here in the streets. He definitely is crossing the line of criminality and putting a lot of people's life in danger, and going through techniques and tactics on how they law enforcement use sensitive information. I mean, he's giving up the jewel to how many of these agents, FBI agents, DEA agents, the alphabet group, on how they even go after people to arrest them and charge them with all kinds of charges. So he's giving up very sensitive information. A jury in 2024 convicted Bon Giovanni of 4 counts of obstruction of justice, counts of conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, and making false statements to law enforcement. Prosecutors said Bon Giovanni's little dark secret caused immeasurable damage over 11 years. Now, you always hear me say, if you follow me, what is in the dark will someday land into the light, and the unforeseen will become seen, and the unbelievable will become believable. He said they liken him to Jose. They compared Bon Giovanni to this other disgraced former DEA agent, Jose Irizarry. A disgraced former DEA agent who's serving a 12-year federal sentence after confessing to laundering money for Colombian drug cartels. So you got this guy, Bon Giovanni, in association with the mafia, allegedly, up in New York. You have this Jose Irizarry, who had an association with Colombian drug cartels. So you can see where even whether you're a police officer, a DEA agent, FBI agent, sometimes the money, the greed, chasing the bag by any means necessary, that badge that they're supposed to honor and protect gets disgraced at some point. This happens in human nature all the time. You have to have a lot of morality and ethical basis behind you not to be impressed by the carrot of money dangled in your face when you're supposed to protect the law and not cross the line of corruption. Bon Giovanni upheld an oath not to the DEA, they argued, but to organized crime figures in the tight-knit Italian-American community of his North Buffalo upbringing. But during sentencing, Bon Giovanni's family dissolved into tears on the front row of the packed courtroom in downtown Buffalo. Prosecutors said Bon Giovanni's corruption involved as much inaction as calculated cover-up. They pointed to a turning point in 2008 when Bon Giovanni could have acted on intelligence about traffickers he knew whose operations would evolve into a large-scale organization with links to California, Vancouver, and to New York City. He was also accused of authoring bogus DEA reports, stealing sensitive files, throwing off colleagues, and covering for a sex trafficking strip club. This guy was busy. Prosecutors say he brazenly urged colleagues to spend less time investigating Italians. Now listen to this. This is where I tell you race plays in everything. Race, R-A-C-E, what a person looks like and their ethnic background. So they also said, prosecutors also said he brazenly urged colleagues to spend less time in investigating Italians and focus instead on blacks and Hispanic people, trying to lock them up. So, bad apple. His conduct shook the foundation of law enforcement and this community to its core, Assistant U.S. Attorney Joseph Trippi told the judge. That's where the betrayal is. The ex-agent's downfall came amid a sex trafficking prosecution that took sensational turns, including an implicated judge who killed himself after the FBI raided his home. Listen to this. This is how this negative energy followed all the way through the courtrooms, not only this DEA agent, a judge, and some government witnesses. So this ex-agent's downfall came amid a sex trafficking prosecution that took a sensational turn, including an implicated judge who killed himself after the FBI raided his home, law enforcement dragging a pond in search of an overdose victim, and dead rats planted outside the home of a government witness who prosecutors allege was later killed by a fatal dose of fentanyl. It also involved the Pharaoh's Gentleman Club outside of Buffalo. Bon Giovanni was childhood friends with the strip club owner, Peter Gerasi Jr., who authorities said has close ties to both the Buffalo Mafia and the Violent Outlaws Motorcycle Club. A separate grand jury convicted Gerasi of a sex trafficking conspiracy and of paying bribes to Bon Giovanni. The prosecution also cast a harsh light on the DEA after a string of corruption scandals prompted at least 17 agents brought up on federal charges over the past decade. So there's been some bad seeds in that DEA, FBI, many of these alphabet agents. Last month, prosecutors charged another former agent with conspiring to launder millions of dollars and obtain military-grade firearms and explosives for a Mexican drug cartel. Frank Tarantino, the DEA's Northeast Associate Chief of Operations, said Bon Giovanni's sentence sends a powerful message that those who portray their badge will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Former DEA agents have gotten into trouble with the law before. In 2021, a once standout U.S. narcotics agent was sentenced to more than 12 years in federal prison for conspiring to launder money with a Colombian drug cartel. In 2015, some DEA agents allegedly engaged in sex parties with prostitutes paid for by the Colombian cartel, according to a report by the Justice Department's Office of the Inspector General. So you got mafia, Mexican cartel, Colombian cartel. There is a lot going on throughout our world in today's time, and we got to get to a better place. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience.